Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business. So every freelancer needs to manage their finances. We've talked about this a lot, but most systems are built for larger businesses, not sole trader businesses like ours, which means you end up paying for a lot of unnecessary features that you never use, such as payroll. Rounded is designed for freelancers, so it's super easy. You can see how much tax you'll need to pay, which is also something that other systems didn't tell me.
Yes, and Rounded really is an affordable all-in-one tool. Plus, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can save another 20% on any annual subscription. Hi Lynne, how are you this week?
I'm really good, Rach, really good. Beautiful, sunny weather. It's all good in the hood.
It is, and we're actually recording this on Halloween. So by the time it goes to press, it'll be a long time ago.
Yes.
But it's been a morning of Dracula tea, capes, putting lollies in the fridge so they don't melt. But anyway, it's interesting. We're not talking about anything to do with Halloween today. We're talking about ghostwriting. Well, it's a little bit like, it's very apt, isn't it, for Halloween?
It's fitting, yeah.
It's such a fascinating topic. I love the idea of ghostwriting, and I think it's such an interesting opportunity.
Me
we're
too.
chatting with freelance writer Alley Pascoe. She's just finished a couple of high-profile ghostwriting projects, and I'm so keen to talk about them. Do you want to introduce Alley?
Yes, love to. Alley Pascoe is a freelance writer and editor with a background in magazines and memoirs. She's written for the country's most read publications, including the Australian Women's Weekly, Stella, Body and Soul, Gourmet Traveller, and Marie Claire magazine, where she was formerly the features editor. And her books include the best-selling Heartstrong with Elodie Pullen, Love and Pain with Ben Gillies and Chris Joannou, I hope I've said that right, of Silverchair, and My Mother's Eyes with Shanelle Dawson. Alley Pascoe is based on Larrakia country in Darwin and does her best work by the pool with an iced latte in hand and her dog Daisy underfoot. Don't we all do our best work by the pool? Welcome, yes. Alley.
Welcome, Alley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me in that intro.
I'm so jealous. You've got a pool. I keep saying I really want to put a jacuzzi in the backyard, and my husband says it would take up the entire backyard.
Highly recommend.
Some things are important, aren't they?
Yes.
Having access to water. So you've published 5 books in the last couple of years, and with some very high profile people too, which we'll get to. The 3 that we've already mentioned, plus The Girl in the Green Dress with Jenny Haynes and The Flying Nurse with Prudence Wheelwright. So tell us how ghostwriting came about for you.
Yeah, look, I feel like I was very lucky in a lot of ways. I started in magazines and somehow just caught the attention of a publisher at Hachette who actually started following me on Instagram and then reached out with an opportunity to co-write a book. And that was back in 2020. And my first book was with Fiona O'Loughlin, the comedian. And since then it hasn't really stopped.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Amazing.
Wow. I love I've read the Fiona O'Loughlin book. That's pretty harrowing,
so
that
great.
one. I know.
Hell of a story.
Yeah. And was that the first one you worked on?
Yes, yeah. So straight in the deep end with that one. And we actually did it. It was all during lockdown, during COVID time. So I was in Sydney, she was in Adelaide. So we still to this day actually haven't met in person, but know each other quite intimately now.
Yeah.
Do you kind of remain friends with, the subjects, or does it form a weird sort of friendship because you know so much about it? How does that all work?
Yeah, I think you can't help but get quite close to someone because of the kind of work we do together and, the stories we share. So definitely, I still hear from Elodie quite often. She sent me her new lingerie line, which is very generous of her.
Nice.
Free lingerie.
Yeah, not bad. Perks.
Well, the ghostwriting process, these books are so personal. And is it hard to channel somebody else's voice?
Yeah, look, that is the entire challenge of it. And I think it is the part that I, enjoy the most, really, when you feel that moment, and it's such a moment where it just clicks into place. And I feel like, okay, I've got their voice now. I've got the tone, the pace, the structure. Yeah, so it's a challenge, but one I really enjoy.
Mm. I wanted to ask you about Love and Pain. That's been getting a lot of press. And I understand it was just this vehicle for Ben and Chris to tell their story from Silverchair. But how tricky is that for a ghostwriter when there's a very famous sort of, lead singer who doesn't want involvement in that kind of project? Is that hard to navigate and work around?
That's a great question. Look, I feel like for me, I'm almost a little bit removed from that side of it because my job is just telling Ben and Chris's story and doing their story justice. Definitely in the lead up to the launch, there was a lot happening. And of course, it affects you because, you care about the book, you care about the project, you care about the people. So you just want the best for them.
Yeah.
And I understand he has read it, hasn't he? Daniel Johns.
Yeah, look, he was really interested to read it. And yeah, the last thing I heard was a post on his Instagram saying that he'd read parts of the book and that he was happy and proud for the boys. So yeah, that made my heart swell a little bit to hear that in the end.
Definitely a good outcome for the ghostwriter. Otherwise, you'd just be pulling the doona over your head going, I don't want it.
Never again.
Yeah. So talk us through the process of being a ghostwriter and writing these sorts of books, how much back and forth there is, how long does it take, all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it does really depend on each project, of course. For something like Elodie's book, we were on a very, very tight deadline. So honestly, it was only about 2 to 3 months all up of writing.
Wow.
And then kind of the editing process after that with the editors at Hachette and our publisher. So they, we can do it if we need to. But the Silverchair project was more like a year all up, which gave us a lot of room to breathe and to, really dive deep into it, which we needed.
Mm-hmm. Do you do a lot of fact checking along the way, or is that really an editor's role?
It definitely comes into it, and I do a lot of supplementary interviews. So for Love and Pain, I spent a whole day with John Watson, who is the longtime manager of Silverchair, and interviewed so many people behind the scenes, just to get their perspectives and hear their side of the story. Yeah, but a lot of it is, if it's somebody's story and that's how they felt it happen and saw it happen, you just kind of lean into that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to talk about the publicity trail because they are all high profile books and high profile people. How involved are you in that, or is it left to the main author?
Yeah, look, it's definitely all about them, as it should be, because it's their story. But I was really lucky to be able to go to the Newcastle and the Sydney launch for Love and Pain, which was a lot of fun, having 600 diehard Silverchair fans in Newcastle lining up to get their book signed. So it's definitely, I think it's important to kind of mark the milestones and celebrate the books when they do come out, because so much goes into them. So it's always a lot of fun.
It's interesting. I would love to know, with ghostwriting, how do you negotiate acknowledgement of your work in terms of getting a byline? Is that something you want, or is that something that's offered at the start, or do you get less money? I mean, how does that all work?
Yeah, very good question. I feel like I've had it from the get-go. So for Fiona O'Loughlin's book, my name was on the title page, so not the cover on that one. And yeah, from that moment on, I've always been credited for my work, and it's been credited on the cover, which, I appreciate it. I don't think it's something I would necessarily demand or insist on if there was an issue, but I think it's a nice little nod to the work that we put in together to make the book a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have to sign NDAs and all of that sort of thing?
Look, I think that's all kind of within the contract. I probably should read my contracts a bit closer. But it goes without saying, it's you build up this trust, and, we're always kind of saying this is a safe place. You're in the cone of silence. Anything that's kind of said to me, I hold that within confidence, and and hold it close, because a lot of these things are quite personal and they're straight from the heart.
Each of these stories, of course, has a really personal angle. Elodie's story of the birth of her baby and everything after her husband died, and the Silverchair story, and obviously Shanelle Dawson's story about her mother's death and her father's conviction. I mean, goodness, these are really tricky topics, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge stories, and we kind of joke about it, but it's true. I feel like I've kind of found my niche in trauma stories and telling stories of trauma, which can be hard at times. It really can.
And so with the story itself, like, are you given a sort of structure to follow, or do you get it, the story itself, and so you sort of just go down rabbit holes, or are there places that you don't go? I mean, are you ever told that's off limits, I wouldn't go near that, or how does it all work?
No, I haven't had that so far. It's really been free range, because I guess, you don't really know how a story is going to develop or shape up until you're in the thick of it. Yeah, so I think I'm lucky that I have been given a lot of creative control over the projects that I've worked on, and it was a bit of mind work trying to figure out how to integrate both Ben and Chris's voice into the Silverchair book, and kind of make it a cohesive narrative, but still have each of their, individual stories and personalities and perspectives in there.
Quite different from feature writing.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in a second. I wondered about the work. So you obviously got approached for the Fiona's book, but have you pitched to publishers, or are they coming to you now?
Oh, Lynne, thank you for this question. So far, the publishers have been coming to me and saying, hey, we've got this project on the go. Is this something you might be interested in working on? And I've jumped at every opportunity. But actually this week, today, I have put in my first pitch for someone's memoir that I really want to write and that I'm really passionate about. So cross your fingers for me. It's interesting being on the other side of it. I haven't really been through this process before, so it's a lot.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Wow.
It's really interesting that you're based in Darwin as well. Have you always lived there?
No, so I've been here 2 years now. So I did, nearly 10 years in Sydney. So I was in the Pacific offices with Lynne for a very long time. And moved up to Darwin after doing a little stint in Alice Springs as well, where I lived as a kid actually for a bit. So the NT's always been, in my blood, under my skin.
Calling you back.
Yeah. So it's a dream. It really is. I've always wanted to come back here, and it's pretty special that I can still do what I love to do.
Is it ever a challenge, like doing the kinds of books and the kind of work that you do when you're so far away from the larger cities?
Yeah, look, so far I've been able to make it work. And there have been a few trips back to the East Coast, of course, to do the in-person interviews. And I think the editing process is a lot easier when you're in the same room as somebody. Yep. But honestly, I think sometimes it works in my favor, because it can be easier for people to open up on the other side of a phone as well, when they can just concentrate on the story and being in the moment without the distraction of, having to put on a smile or,
Wow. You do a lot of feature writing for magazines as well, which is where you started. How does that work? Do they come to you, or are you pitching for those?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of both for me. So obviously I have a really great relationship with Marie Claire still, and I love writing for them. So they often just hit me up and say, hey, we've got this idea. Would you like to write it? And I say yes every time. But then, of course, pitching my own ideas to magazines, and really enjoying getting to pitch stories from the NT specifically, and kind of getting to share this part of the world with a wider national audience.
That's so interesting. I think you're the first person we've ever interviewed from the Northern Territory on the podcast. And that's, we're into,
I know
over
there are a few
200
creatives up there
episodes.
though.
Mm.
So yeah, you've probably got a bit of a community.
Oh, the creative scene up here is just phenomenal and just constantly growing. Like it's actually really cool to be a part of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by ghostwriting. So just getting back to the book, that process, at what point do you show the author? Is it kind of towards the end, or do they see chapter by chapter, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, I need to rip the Band-Aid off straight away.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely kind of stage by stage. So often we'll send through kind of a first chapter just to make sure we're on the same page and we're getting there with it. And then I'll send through, chunks at a time. So we'll be editing that, working on that while also working on the new chapters after.
And have you ever had anyone see it at the end, even after they agreed, oh, this is great, it's all going in the right direction, I'm loving it, and then they think, actually, I've rethought that whole chapter about X and I really want to pull it out?
Oh, there are always moments, of course there are, where, you're bearing your soul so much. And I think when you read a manuscript and when it's typeset and on the pages, that can be quite confronting to see it in the flesh. So definitely there's been sentences cut on final edit, but yeah, thankfully not entire chapters or anything major. It's just little tweaks just to get it right.
You probably have to be a bit of a counselor as well, and just like, this would be so great for the book and here's why. And
Yeah. I certainly know of somebody who ghostwrote a book on a well-known sort of media identity, and it was fantastic, really good, did really well. But when it came out, the person just was horrified and refused to acknowledge it, speak about it. I think she thought it was one thing to chat about it, but maybe once it gets out there, people start saying, oh, this happened to you, and it's quite confronting. And so she just
it sounds like she didn't hear it. Maybe she didn't get to see it stage by stage, or
maybe
like
she did, or maybe it's just one thing to read it as your personal story. It's another thing to have it out in the public domain. Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a huge thing to tell your story and then have people have opinions on it, of course. But you've just got to brace yourself for that and know that that's coming, know that people are going to read the book.
They need to be having some seeing a psychologist during the process and afterwards.
Well, it is a bit of therapy anyway, isn't it?
They need to do that, especially for a massive confronting story.
Absolutely. I think that's really important, actually.
Yeah.
I was sort of joking, but you're right.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, it is. It's a therapy in itself, kind of, talking about these things and getting the story out. I hope for the most part that is a healing process, as hard as it can be at times.
And what percentage of your work is sort of magazine work and ghostwriting books type work?
For the last 2 years, as you said, I've done 5 books. So I've been back to back on book titles. So this is the first time in 2 years where I've not actually been tied to a book project, which is freeing.
It must be amazing writing a feature after and thinking, this is like a dream. I can do it in like that,
No, but it's so nice to have that balance. So I think, even when I'm working on a book project, I'll still be freelancing and doing magazine articles on the side as well. It helps my brain to have different things to work on and jump into.
Sure. So you obviously have another book planned. So that's exciting. And what else is coming up for you?
Look, I actually have a kids book coming out next year.
How exciting.
With the incredible Sarah Kate Rose. She is a phenomenal Australian Paralympian, and she's a dwarf, and we've written this book called A is for Ability. So it's kind of the alphabet of disability for kids.
Yeah,
Oh,
how
fantastic.
fantastic.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
really
What sort of
cool.
age? Is it a picture book or is it yeah, it's a picture book.
Yeah, so it's illustrated. So kind of I think 6 upwards that they've got it for, but it's just been so much fun and so great to work on and have
Such a
that,
change.
yes, to have that kind of light and joy and fun amidst the harder stories as
The
well.
heavier,
Yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. Well, talk us through what your average week looks like.
This is my favorite part of the week, getting to have a chat with people. So there's definitely a bit of that, whether it's, meeting with editors, checking in, or doing interviews with case studies for stories, which I love, and then kind of settling into the writing of the week. So I feel like I do my best writing after a couple of coffees, after I've woken up a little bit.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Yeah, it takes a hot minute up here. And then, often have a little midday pool break, jump in the pool, have a swim.
Nice. Sounds good.
With me.
I can see Rachel's so jealous. Yeah.
I want a pool break.
Yes, you need one. You deserve one.
Have you got one you've got a pool, obviously, in your apartment building?
Yeah, I know. Well, you need one up here. You actually,
Yeah.
you couldn't live without.
Yeah. How awesome. Well, I mean, many of our listeners are writers and journalists who are interested in this sort of work because it has come up in our pay rate survey, and we do have a lot of ghostwriters at Rachel's List as well. But for those who are wanting to start, where should they start? You were approached and that's how you sort of fell into it, but are there other avenues?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously, building up your portfolio and your connections within the industry, which goes without saying. But I feel like I also had quite good and close relationships with book publishers already from my role at Marie Claire. So I was often meeting with the publicists of all the book houses. So I feel like they might have put a good word in for me as well along the line somewhere to kind of get me on the radar. So I think that's definitely a great place to start, is just building that network and mentioning that you're interested in doing that sort of work.
And maybe also, having an ear out for those amazing stories that you can pitch as well.
Always. That goes without saying. And things that you think, have a book in them, because obviously there's a lot of stories out there. Everyone has a story. Keeping an eye on that for sure.
Yeah.
Because we did speak to a couple of people, like Stephanie Wood, who's a regular feature writer for The Good Weekend. And those sort of stories in The Good Weekend are quite long, I think sort of 5,000 words or so. And she was approached with her first book to take one of her most successful articles into a book. So I guess that happens in some of those longer form features, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you're interested in doing memoirs like I do, and if you've done a big story with someone and you think there's more to tell and there's an appetite for that story, that's such a great place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on authors these days to be out marketing. Now, I guess as a ghostwriter, you're a step away, but there's a bit of pressure for you to sort of promote the book. Is it exhausting? How does that work?
Look, honestly, I haven't felt that personally. I'm not on Book Talk, which I feel like maybe I should be. Maybe I shouldn't admit that. But of course, with the publisher I work with, Hachette, they have an entire publicity team, and they're so supportive and incredible. And I obviously help out where I can, and I always keep an eye out for if I can pitch one of the books to some of the magazines I work with, which often happens. And but obviously post about it on my own Instagram page as well.
Which is where I saw you. I realized the work you were doing, which is great promotion. Yeah.
I mean, what about ghostwriters, though, that don't get that byline? Are they basically off they don't have to promote it at all? In fact, they're probably not meant to promote it.
I'm fascinated by that because, again, like when you're wanting to get more work in that kind of space, how do you go about that when your name isn't on the book? It's very interesting.
Ghostwriting has really come into its own. There was a big article, I think, wasn't it in the New Yorker, about Prince Harry's ghostwriter, because he's like the go-to ghostwriter now, and his name is as big well, it's not as
Yeah.
big as Prince Harry's, but it's, he's the go-to one because he did Andre Agassi's one as well. And have you heard that? Are you getting those sort of
Absolutely.
repercussions? Yeah.
Oh, well, look, I'm not to that level. I haven't got any royalty approaching me yet.
Well, I think he got paid like $800,000 or $900,000, which is,
Wow.
we all dream about that as a
Yeah,
ghostwriter.
yep, that's definitely the dream.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we're not at that level yet, but one day.
Well, can you make a living as a ghostwriter? I know in our pay rates report, was it 90,000? I hope that I'm pulling the right stat out. 90,000 words was around 20 to 30,000. Was that right, Lynne? Do you remember?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So obviously it can be a lucrative project, especially if it's only 3 months long.
Yes, exactly. There's definitely, when you look at it like that, sure, you can make it work in your favor. Yeah, I feel I am lucky that I'm making it work so far, and I am making a living from doing it. But as I said, it really helps me to have the freelance mag work as well in the in-between moments.
Yeah, just to plug the gaps. Yeah,
it is
for sure.
Probably all or nothing with ghostwriting because they're huge projects and then they're done and then it's quiet. So it's not like regular freelance work. It's much more project based and, it's a classic feast or famine, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, for all of the bigger projects, there are also smaller ones that I've taken on as well, that don't come with such a substantial fee, but there's still stories I really wanted to be involved in.
Amazing.
So we often ask our guests about tech tips because we find that's really helpful. Do you have some digital tools that you use that you'd be lost without?
Oh, God, yeah. My trusty dictaphone that I have had for more than 10 years now has never failed me.
Oh, that's great.
But I've recently, obviously started using Otter AI transcribing, which has just changed my life and made this all possible. There's no, I actually couldn't do this work if I didn't have a transcribing program. I just couldn't.
Yep. You'd end up in the funny farm.
Oh, and just listening to my own voice, I couldn't bear it.
Try starting a podcast, Alley.
Yeah. How to you guys?
I don't listen back. Lynne does though. Wow, this has been so brilliant. It's just been a fantastic chat and it's been great to hear about your work. So tell us where people can find out more about you and can read your books and that sort of thing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, well, I'm on Instagram and that's kind of where I post the most about my work and what I'm getting up to. And all the links are there to buy the books. They're all through, my publisher, Hachette.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, great. And we'll be seeing you on Book Talk soon as well.
Yeah, look, you've inspired me actually. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do it.
You never know.
Let's do it on the pool.
Yeah, exactly. Poolside reads.
That's it.
Totally.
Captions write themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh, it's so good. It's so interesting. And it's great to hear how exciting and diverse the work is. I think that's really inspiring.
Oh, God, yeah.
So thank you so much for being our guest this week, Alley, which brings us to the end of the show. But thanks to everyone listening, and we'll leave some show notes and everything to get in touch with Alley. And don't forget to leave us a rating and a review.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, and I should say thanks again to our sponsors, rounded.com.au, because they're easy in accounting and invoicing software, and they're just made for Australian freelancers and sole traders. So go to rounded.com.au.
We will see you all next week.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.